Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Phoenix podcast. I am Gervase Kolmos, inner transformation coach and your host, and I am really curious what you're going to think about today's episode. Today, I pulled a training out of the vault that I have been going through diligently as I am gearing up to host a few programs and I'm running the Inner Knowing Mastermind. I went through a program I ran called Legacy. I found a module that I teach pretty much in every program I've ever run on the soul. Obviously, you guys know my work in the world is to help women align with their inner knowing, not just their brains, and the soul and the body are what we call inner knowing. And I'm also noticing in my work with my clients how much spiritual psychology is woven into the teachings that I share, how much it's woven. If you're talking about soul, if you're doing soul work, like what are you backing it up with? And I don't really resonate with a lot of the spiritual teachers out there because I don't feel the need to like make it one thing. I feel truly like very open to this idea of just the soul and spirituality and God and what it means to be in relationship with source energy and nature and the body and inner knowing. Like to me, it's all mystical and magical. I'm like, you kind of have to obviously be on board with that if you're going to actually drop a little deeper than the scientific brain. So teaching my clients about spiritual psychology and giving them concrete tools and methodology to work with the soul is just been part of what I do for a long, long time. But I realized there's not a lot of this content on the podcast. And so when I rewatch this, there are so many really good questions from a client who gave me full permission to use her questions and her voice about how to apply spirituality and the concepts of spiritual psychology to your life where, she asked me about when my brother died and I talk about my relationship with my mom and how do we decide when to have a third baby? Like these are the things we actually want the work for. Like we want these practices so we can take them into our lives and make better choices, make decisions as modern women. And so I just thought this training had a lot of value for those of you who are looking for a little bit of deeper context and foundational principles to build up your relationship with your inner knowing, to explore this concept of your relationship with your soul. And I thought I would share with you today. Keep in mind, I literally recorded this 3 years ago, so much has changed. At the time, this podcast was called It's All Me, and I was really, really passionate about the framework there, which is still woven into some of my teachings, but it's changed just a bit. As much as I believe that the coaching and the healing that I offer women gives them this opportunity to reorient themselves in relation to their trauma, their stories, the challenging events, circumstances, and people in their lives so that they can be in a place of power, so they can be at choice, so they can not feel like victims. I also really don't believe in spiritual bypassing or judging and shaming a woman who feels trapped in victimhood. My coaching practice, my framework, like me, has evolved in 3 years. And so there's a much bigger component that seems to have like swooped in here that is much more about never shaming or blaming our human or soul. Like that is the cornerstone of my work now. And so there was just enough of space for somebody to misinterpret It's All Me, which is part of why I rebranded the podcast. So there's something I say in this training. I say, indulging in victimhood and shadow. And I am just really not sure I mean that today. I really don't think that I believe that. And so I invite you to listen with like a little bit of discernment, knowing that the person who recorded this was still, I really believe with pretty much everything I say in this episode. And I was very passionate and speaking from my lived experience. And also, if there's a part that sounds a little bit like, I don't feel like she would say that today. It feels like a little bypassy, a little bit like she's judging or shaming those who are in victim. That was a part of me that was still working with my own relationship with being in victim. And I just wanted to like name that, not to throw myself under the bus, but I want to make sure that you guys are listening with discernment. I know that when you're putting out content like this, it's really easy for a person who is in a vulnerable situation, whether mental health wise or literally physically in a vulnerable position, to listen and take everything literally and just put the person speaking on a pedestal and make themselves bad or wrong. And it's just so important to me in my career right now that nobody ever does that, because anybody who is speaking about spiritual concepts or healing concepts or the soul and doing it in a way that shames and blames the victim, I just really can't see how that is ever, ever, ever helpful. And I also really understand now because of my focalizing training, which I started right after this program, how much healing has to happen in community, how much we need each other, how much we need these messy, complicated relationships to heal. And that's another reason why It's All Me just didn't really land anymore. It's like I teach women It's All Me now from the lens of all of you gets to fit in your life, but no longer from the I am empowered and in charge of everything that happens in my life. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you a little bit of context and allows you to listen with an open mind and take some of the really valuable spiritual concepts in this episode and also apply them to your life in a way that makes sense for you. The questions were so good. The examples were so relatable, but also it's a pretty high level, high value training. So I really hope that it serves you. And I hope that you listen to this and feel a little bit more at peace, more grounded, less pressure and stress about your healing or your life or your choices or wherever you are, because nobody has arrived, believe it or not, at exactly where they want to be. And you can take away this trust that the right thing will come your way when you're ready to receive it at the right time. And that to me just gives me such a settling of my nervous system. And my foundation in spiritual psychology has really given me that. So I hope you like it. Let me know if you want more content like this, more spiritual stuff. Obviously, I'm like a pretty deep, soulful person. And also, I really notice that this part of my teaching is usually reserved for inside my paid containers. So if there's specific questions that you have or concepts that you want me to dive into, I would love to hear your feedback. DM me on Instagram at Gervase Kolmos. And let's see how we can apply these concepts to your life as a human in the modern world. All right, I love you. Here we go. So welcome to module 4, my personal favorite, called You Are a Soul Having a Human Experience. For me, this is the book. It's called Loyalty to Your Soul. It's by Ronald and Mary Hulnick. And this was the first book that I was given by my mentor 8 years ago. And it was kind of like my launch pad into everything that I stand for and believe today. And it's interesting because the way that the book is written is very, it's an older couple. So a lot gets lost in translation when you're speaking, when it's like 70-year-olds talking to a 30-year-old. And yet, as I was like reviewing the concepts and the material in preparation for this call today, I was really in awe of how much of my truly like my mission and my message in the world, like what I hope every woman I ever connect with takes from our work together, stems from this book, stems from the principles of spiritual psychology. And so my goal is to give you a pretty broad outline of what it is and what it means to me, and then give you some examples today. Okay, so spiritual psychology is the study and practice of the art and science of human evolution in consciousness. I'm going to say that again. The study and practice of the art and science of human evolution in consciousness. It is a way of life that makes spiritual awakening the cornerstone of one's purpose. So the tagline for this, which is also like, what I say all the time, is you are a soul having a human experience. Spiritual psychology leads with the belief that we need to bring the psyche, the soul, back into psychology because it's kind of been taken out over time through different practices. And then we've also got religion, right? And so what happens often between clinical psychology and religion is that the soul gets completely lost in transmission. And so we can kind of understand psychology and the way behavior in the brain works, and we can understand religion, but really the goal of spiritual psychology is to put everything into a soul-centered context. Does that make sense? And so we're going to get into religion versus spirituality in a minute, but to recap, that means my belief and my experiences have taught me and shown me that Earth is a school that souls come to for the evolution of their consciousness. Let's say that again. Earth is a school that souls come to for the evolution of consciousness. So let's talk about religion for a minute, because my personal experience with religion was I was brought up Roman Catholic. I'm the oldest of 4, like very Catholic family. all Catholic schooling, huge, extremely Catholic family. And so all I knew up until really spiritual psychology was religion. I knew Catholicism, I knew dogma, and I knew other religions. I moved from New York to South Carolina when I was 16, and my aperture was widened to a myriad of other religions, right? But the problem for me kept being this lack of connection internally. I kept feeling like I was reading a history book or a math book, or, there was nothing about these religions to me that connected it to this is an inside job, right? And the way that they describe it in the book is that religion is meant to be like a vehicle, a path that takes you to God and your soul. And what has happened over time, and this is no shaming of religion, because I work with women who believe everything under the sun, right? Like I have touch points all along the spectrum, and yet there's no denying that religion often separates people. Religion often separates connection to God. It says like my connection to God, or my connection to source, or my connection to soul or heaven or whatever is better than, or the right way, and yours is wrong. And so what that kept doing for me was it just left me in this like philosophical quagmire where I just felt logically, how can I say that my religion that I was raised on, Catholicism, is the right way, and somebody in India who was raised on Hinduism has the wrong way? Like, who am I to decide which is the correct path to God? And I started noticing that God and connection to self and source was really feeling absent for me in the way that I experienced religion. So when spirituality entered my realm, like my consciousness, it was like the perfect time for me to accept a different worldview. And what I loved about it was that it's all about connection to the soul, connection to source and the soul. And so it's, again, religion is the vehicle or the channel that gets you to God, source, soul, whatever you want to say. And spirituality was just like cut right through it. So spirituality is an awareness of the sacred reality of the divine essence within and beyond all creation. I'm going to read that again. These are direct quotes from the book. Spirituality is an awareness of the sacred reality of the divine essence within and beyond all creation. So this kind of speaks to when you've heard people say like, I am love, we are love, like I am a drop in the ocean and I am the ocean in a drop. It's this idea of oneness. It's the idea of connection. It's the idea of there's something that we can't see that is divine and magical, and call it what you will, but it's there. Okay. And so spirituality is calling that out and saying, yes, that is there, and I'm here for that. And the channel, the vehicle that gets me there is irrelevant, right? So like the religion has nothing to do with this, because that sacred divine is within me. It's all around me and it's within me. And so again, on my journey to exploring what do I believe about God, what do I believe about religion versus spirituality, all of it, it was the first time when I experienced spiritual psychology that I could see like, oh, intuition, that is something I feel, that is something I know, that is something I sense within me that I can't see, that I can't explain, that nobody has spoken about to me via religion. And I'm here to explore this. Like, tell me more about this. And the soul's sixth language, it's like, okay, if you're a soul having a human experience, it uses 5 senses. And also intuition is the 6th sense of the soul. And so again, spiritual psychology is all about using the soul as not only the destination, but also the vehicle, and the belief that you are a soul having a human experience. And so again, like you are the vehicle. Even if you don't have a religion, it's like came to earth with this vehicle to reach divinity, to reach higher consciousness, to reach a deeper connection with intuition and God. And it is within you. It is your soul. And so you'll hear me refer to this as spiritual curriculum, this relating to the events in my life as my spiritual curriculum has totally changed my life. And we're going to get into why, because what I had been doing up until now is I had categorized my life as, here are the good things that have happened in my life, and here are the bad things. And I don't really know what to make of the bad things, right? Because again, like at this time, before I found spiritual psychology, let's take my brother's death. It's like, here's a bad thing. It definitely happened. I hear the Catholic dogma around death, and it's not really resonating to me. So I'm still just going into buckets, good and bad, right and wrong. Here are the choices I made. I dated this guy and I dated him a long time. So I guess that was a bad choice, versus what spiritual psychology believes or teaches, which is it's all soul school. It's all earth lessons. There is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. Your soul came here to learn a lesson. So if you don't worry about what anybody else's lessons are or how it fits into the bigger picture, what did that relationship with that guy teach you? That ended. If you're not looking at how unfair it is that your brother died early and what the Catholic religion says and what did you take? What can you learn from the experience of your brother being taken before his time, right? So again, I started to change the lens through which I viewed my entire life. And it became less about the things happening to me and if they were right or wrong or good or bad, that put me at the center of the universe. My ego, the ego is always going to seek to A, make itself right, and B, be the center of the universe. And instead, it got me curious. It got me looking at my life's experiences in a place of curiosity, which you'll hear me say neutral. We don't want to make things good or bad. We just want to make them neutral, right? And because of that, I was able to pull lessons from them. The example I give a lot for this is a Nintendo game, right? And there's another book called Busting Loose from the Money Game. I don't know if I've told you guys about it before, but that was recommended to me by a mentor of mine years ago. And it's another like really out there book that I just pulled a few things from, but it's the same idea where if you're not thinking about religion and you're not thinking about what everyone else is doing, and you're just trying to look through the lens of, this is all soul school. I'm a soul having a human experience. I'm here for evolved consciousness. Then you can start to look at your life as a video game, and you can say, okay, I wasn't sure if I should move or not move. And so I made the choice and I moved. And now this is feeling really hard. So if this was a video game, this is the next level. And here are the challenges. And how do I beat this level? How do I beat this level? And it's not by bypassing your experience. And it's not by deciding this move was right or this move was wrong. It's just saying, okay, whatever's coming up for me at this level, that's soul school. That's my soul, my spiritual curriculum. And to beat this level, I get to get curious and explore how I'm relating to these challenges and learn and grow. Questions, comments, concerned? Yes, yes, yes.
So how does, so for example, that, ending that relationship or losing your brother, that's heartbreaking. So how do we not, we're conditioned to think of those things as bad things. How can we not be like, this effing sucks?
I love this question because I think the misunderstanding is that you don't get to be a human. And the other key component of spiritual psychology is you are a soul having a human experience. So the human gets to be like, oh my God, this sucks. The human gets to feel their feelings fully without judgment. That is step one. Well, actually, I would say it's like this. Step one is just having this awareness that this approach exists, having the awareness that it's possible that your soul is here having a human experience, having this awareness that spiritual psychology could be a path that you could resonate with. And then you go about your life as a human. And Russia starts bombing Ukraine and killing people. And you go, what in the actual fuck? This doesn't feel good. This is not right. And so no part of what I stand for will ever be about bypassing the yuck and bypassing the natural human reaction to heartbreaking tragedy. And I think that where spiritual teachers go really, really wrong is they skip this fundamental step where you have to let your human be a human. You have to let your human feel the feelings. If you were not meant to feel feelings, why did you have them? If feelings are bad, if feelings of rage, anger, grief, disappointment, fear are not meant to be felt, then why do we all feel them all the time? All the time, okay? And so it's really about loving and accepting your human where she's at in that moment and being like, of course, when my brother died, I was like devastated. And understanding that's part of your process. Feeling your feelings fully is part of your process. Giving yourself so much love and compassion is part of your process. And then the second part of the process is saying, okay, this thing is happening in the Ukraine and it's so sad. And what can I do about it? Who do I choose to be today in a world where this thing is happening? What good can I do for Ukraine with the perspective that I don't get to live my most fully expressed life because other people are suffering? Like, who wins from that perspective, right? And again, even with my brother, it was this idea of like, okay, I'm not ever going to say like things happen for a reason. However, how helpful is it for me to go about my life post my brother dying with the belief that life doesn't matter and it's not fair and I don't get to live my life fully? It kind of, I just decided at one day, I just like, it's like when you felt it enough, you've like felt it and you've cried and it's like, your human is truly exhausted and freed. And it's like, okay, I felt that. I felt that breakup. I felt that grief. I felt that news story. I felt it. And now, who do I want to be? And now, what's here for me to learn, right? And if I could just make it neutral, if I could acknowledge it, feel it, release judgment, come back to self-love and compassion, and then ask myself, what's here for me to learn? Then it became like, I want to, post Thomas dying, I traveled to Peru. That was probably, honestly, my second or third time actually listening to my intuition. And it was so clearly like, go here, do this, have this experience. And it was not only healing my human, but it was also like opening something in me that needed to be opened, right? And so, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I guess the thing that's coming up too when you're saying that is like, do you find, I guess this is more of a personal question, that sometimes that sits right next to like insensitivity? Like if people are like, whoa, well, her brother just died and look at her going off to Peru. Like, does that ever happen?
Oh, that's a great question. And
I don't think that, but
yeah. I know you don't think that. But the key lesson here is it really doesn't matter if you think that or not, right? Because it's my one precious life. And this is my soul school. This is like my spiritual curriculum. And so part of my spiritual curriculum has been to let go of like letting other people's definitions of me define the choices that I make. Because what I found was that comes from conditioning, that comes from an old deep-rooted belief that I'm only as good as other people's approval of me, that comes from a belief that taking care of oneself and like taking full advantage of my one incredible life makes me selfish, which is like a theme that we've talked about a lot in here. And the older I get, the more, then I have children and I just think, let them think I'm selfish. Like I'm going on a retreat on Wednesday. Okay. And when I did this, I've been on multiple retreats now, but when I did this like 7 years ago, I did it even though it was uncomfortable, but the voices were so loud of like, what are other people gonna make this mean about me? But one of the true lessons, my spiritual curriculum has been, what do you think about you? Mm-hmm. Can you stand for what you think about you? Because guess what? As a mother, leaving a legacy, nothing could be more powerful than really deciding and choosing for yourself, what do I know is true for me? And it gets to be different for everybody because everybody is having their own experience. Everybody's in their own Nintendo game, right? But if in my Nintendo game, this experience keeps coming up for me that I desire, and I deny myself because of all these other things, that's not helping me show up in integrity with my values as a mother as my kids get older. Such good questions. So the other thing, actually, and this kind of ties into Christina's question, is spiritual laws. This is for you to know. Spiritual laws are universal. So just like gravity, it exists whether or not you think it does. The earth being round, it didn't, like, people didn't used to believe the earth was round. They thought it was flat. It was round regardless, right? And so the perspective that I lead from, without needing to convince other people, but it's the perspective that I fully lead from, is like, these spiritual laws, they're universal. Me being a soul having a human experience, that's just fact for me. So like, if you relate to or watch me or are triggered by me and create a story about what that means, it doesn't really matter, because these spiritual laws are universal. They go on regardless of other people's belief systems. Okay. And the other thing that I'm going to keep bringing into this is the mindset shift. And this has been, the podcast rebrand. This has been really huge discovery for me of like, what is my mission and my message and what do I stand for? And this is what I mean by it's all me. It's this idea that it doesn't matter what other people think. It's all about me. It doesn't matter what's happening. It's all about how I respond to it. And so my spiritual growth, and yours too, can be gauged by the results I feel within me and how I choose to lead my life. That's how I will know if I am growing spiritually. And like the goal, like the science and the art and the beauty of spiritual psychology, it's about learning how to lead your life and relate to your life in service to your soul's curriculum. Again, I am what I can control. It's all me. It doesn't really matter other people's perception of me. It doesn't really matter how bad this thing is that happened to me. It doesn't really matter where I'm at in my process of grief, rage, confusion, as long as I am operating from this understanding that this is a curriculum that my soul came here to work through. I got me. I got this. We're going to be okay. And it gives you this opportunity to use like your everyday experiences as rungs on the ladder of your spiritual evolution. And so again, coming from my Roman Catholic background and my corporate America background, where it was all about these rungs on a ladder, where it was like, how holy are you? How many sacraments did you get? And how much does your job pay? And did you climb the ladder? And it just felt like these external ladder rungs that I was climbing. And I was doing it. I like checked all the boxes. And yet when it came down to it, like when something really challenging, when my brother died, those things were useless. Like when life actually happened, those things were useless. When I was in a period of deep inquiry about my purpose, my next steps, the people in my life, those things were useless. And so I just kept having this feeling of like, I see that these work for other people, but for me, it's got to be an inner guidance system. Like it's got to be an internal ladder. Like the rungs of this ladder have to be internal so that I'm growing more and more at peace with my choices. So I'm growing more and more tuned in to my desires and like what I can control and what I want and who I'm becoming. And the ultimate goal, like another way to say this, is you want to find your way home. And so you'll hear me say this where I just feel like often when I have women on coaching calls, they're looking for the final goal, the destination, the solution out here. And what I will always do is bring it back here, because I'm not saying that the outer world doesn't exist. I'm not saying that it doesn't help or matter or that we're not operating in it. But I am saying that the only path to freedom, the only path to inner peace, the only path to leaving a legacy that feels true and strong and like honest for you is coming home to self-knowing, coming home to self-compassion, coming home to self-love. So based on what I said about, the ego likes to make experiences good or bad, right or wrong, you learn very quickly that a soul doesn't categorize. A soul, if you're connected to your soul, if you're seeing your experiences through soul, you're not having this problem of separating experiences into good or bad, right or wrong, because your soul will see all experiences as learning opportunities. Everything is learning. Everything is Earth School. Everything is learning opportunities. So again, coming back to Christina's question, my brother dies. Again, I didn't know any of this when my brother died, though a lot of it makes so much sense now. But my human feels all the things. And then later, once I learned this, it was like, okay, I felt the things. I loved and lost. I grieved. I raged. I was down and out. And now I'm alive. So what's here for me to learn? What does this horrible tragedy teach me about what I want, who I want to become, the legacy I want to leave? And it truly did create this opportunity for deep, deep growth and expansion as a human, because then I took the road less traveled that I would not have taken probably if I didn't have this loss. And I went to South America, and then I went back again, and it just became part of my soul. It was like an experience I was meant for. Another piece of soul school that is really important, we're going to move now into the shadow side and the light side, is now we know the soul does not judge anything as good or bad, right or wrong. It's just, you're in a Nintendo game and this thing is happening and you're aware of it. And now how do you want to relate to it? So really anchoring in that principle, that core foundational principle, that not judging the self, not judging the human, not judging the feelings, not judging the dark, and really accepting the reality of the duality of being on Earth. I mean, it's pretty crazy. You're on a ball of rock hurling through space right now, okay? And so you are a soul, you're a human, you're having light and dark, right? You're going to have days where you feel effervescent and joyful and it's easy. And then you're going to have experiences of darkness and heaviness and the shadow side. And what if it's all here to teach you? What if it's all here for you? That is critical to understanding. And so from there, we move into earth stackers. What are they and how to heal them? So according to this book, I'm going to ask you to consider the possibility, that you have spiritual allies who stack up potential events in accordance with your earth school or your spiritual curriculum or your karma. And then they take these potential events and they send them to you at opportune moments in support of your spiritual growth. Okay. We call these earth stackers. Spiritual psychology, they call them earth stackers, and they are just another tool, another way of relating to life as a confusing, complex human, as a soul, and make sense of it all, right? Stackers are instruments of your soul. Stackers guide you, not always through ease and joy and bliss, through to lessons you need to learn. So again, taking my brother's death. If I'm going to just say, this isn't good or bad, right or wrong, I'm not saying it happened for a reason. I'm just going to say, this is a video game, whatever. This thing happened. And what's the direction of spiritual growth that this is sending me right now? Okay. And again, the lessons were immense. Or you could look at someone like another member of my family who is a real person, who had the same experience that I did, who doesn't believe in earth stackers, who doesn't believe she's a soul having a human experience, who doesn't believe that there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong. She just thinks life is cruel, the world is hard, it's not fair, She has no control, and this bad thing happened to her and it sucks. She is entitled to her own experience, and I fully trust that she is a soul having her own human experience. However, what's going to happen if you're following suit with the idea of the earth stackers is she's going to keep being served up, life is cruel, this is hard. And the earth stackers will continue to send her those events that line up with that curriculum, because what she is here to learn is that life is not good or bad. What she's here to learn is that she can always come home to love. What she is here to learn is that perspective of it's all me, right? I am what I can control. It's all up to me. I get to choose. I have options. I get to be human and a magical speck of stardust. And so every challenge is an opportunity for her to take her power back from these self-defeating beliefs that keep her suffering, that keep her frustrated, that keep her disconnected from her heart, her soul. Make sense? It's also this idea of like, there's a million options. There's so many like choices that you could make, and your privilege as a human is like, you get to make all of them. I have this conversation a lot with women, and let's say drinking. Like drinking seems to be like a thing that keeps coming up with clients, right? So they'll be like, well, today I drank the wine and I didn't want to drink the wine and I feel really bad about the wine, but I should just stop drinking wine. And it's like, what if there's like a million ways that you get to relate to the wine? Okay. What if you could drink the wine with with the perspective that it's going to be a fun night? You could drink the wine with the perspective of I'm a victim. You could give up wine for a lifetime. You could do a cleanse. Like there's so many options. And I think we get really stuck on here's the path that's been laid out for me, versus I think of it less as a specific bullseye that we're aiming for and more of a state of being, if that makes sense. And the goal, and this is actually kind of where I'm going with this, is total ownership over your life. The goal is not to separate experiences or choices or things that come your way or things that you do into good, bad, whatever. It's the idea that how can I take the higher perspective? This is all set up for learning. I'm going to come home to self-love. I'm going to come home to my soul. What is the experience my soul is here to have? And what are the million ways I can get to it? You know, I know there's like this saying, what is meant for you will not pass you by. And I remember at the beginning of my journey with spirituality, I felt a lot of pressure of, okay, well, I see there's two paths. And this good path is like the path of my spirit guides and my soul and God or whatever, the universe. And it's like, you know, have a third kid. That's an easy one. Have a third kid. But then my ego is terrified and is like, that's going to be hard. I don't really want to do that. It's, you know, and the truth is I could not have a third kid and still reach the destination that I'm aiming for, which is to understand total self-love, self-compassion, self-responsibility, right? I don't need to actually make this choice or that choice to reach the end goal, which is who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And how do I relate to my life?
Yeah.
And then coming back to what's meant for you will not pass you by. It's like, if there's a lesson here in having a third baby that I, in the end, don't choose it, and I just have two kids, I'm going to get that lesson a different way. My earth stackers are going to send me that lesson. And it's not saying like it's going to hurt. It's just this idea of like, there's something in this soul curriculum. There is like soul school here for me, and I could get it this way or this way or this way or this way or this way, right? But yeah, my soul is kind of like, well, this is this way. Like I want this, but oftentimes we're like, no, right? Or if you do the wine, it's like,
yeah, I was gonna say, so it sounds like whether you have the third kid or not, whether you drink the wine or not, just have power over that decision and make it be a choice that aligns, instead of like, oh, well, I have to have this third kid, or like, oh, I can't have the wine, or
exactly.
you know, whatever it may be. Okay.
That is like literally it, because what's meant for you isn't going to pass you by either way. And your earth stackers, your, you know, the idea of spiritual allies who are going to keep sending you experiences to learn the thing that your soul came here to learn, they'll just find another way to send it.
Mhm.
So another example for this that I always share is my mother, my relationship with my mother, which I've like been pretty candidly public about. From age 20 to 30, this relationship was super, super challenging. And when I look at it, when I connect the dots looking backwards through the lens of spiritual psychology, I can see so clearly how what I was meant to learn, my soul, which might be a different lesson than yours, by the way, one of the things I was meant to learn on this earth was how to be there for myself, how to validate myself, how to mother myself, how to forgive, how to see someone truly through a lens of non-judgment. Obviously, my ability to learn this, to embody this, to truly be able to see someone who I felt the most animosity and resentment towards through a lens of non-judgment allows me to do my job really fucking well, right? So I can see how those 10 years of suffering, of having like just tumultuous back and forth communication with this person in my life, once I decided, you know what, it's time for me to face the music. I'm taking ownership of this relationship and what is here for me to learn. And like tuning into my soul and asking like, okay, earth stackers, okay, what is here? How have I given my power away? And that becomes the question often. Earth stackers, I'll often relate to them as triggers. You might hear me say, you know, okay, so the trigger is there to teach you something. And when you are in the midst of an earth stacker sending you something or a trigger or however you want to call it, you just ask yourself, how have I given my power away? What idea or belief or lie or story have I fed that is causing me to feel like a victim in my own life? And so at this time of my life, it was like, well, my mother doesn't think I'm a good person. I am feeding the wolf that believes you're a bad person. You let people down. You disappoint people. You disappointed your mother, so you're probably going to disappoint your husband. You're going to disappoint your kids. And that is going to keep coming up. And so when I was able to face it and just ask myself, what is the lesson, the earth lesson that keeps coming up for me? It was like, well, what if I didn't disappoint my mother? What if my mother's disappointment has nothing to do with me? What if my only job on this planet or as a soul on this earth is to not disappoint myself? Like, how does that change my emotional charge around this trigger, around this relationship? And then you do it once and it's kind of like rocky and it's like a little sloppy, but you get there and then it's hunky-dory and you're like, everything's great. Me and my mom are like so good. And then of course your earth stacker is like, I call bullshit. There's still a little bit of power that she's given away to this story, to this relationship. She needs her mom to need her. She needs her mom to validate her. She needs her mom to believe in her. I'm going to send her another telegram. I'm going to send her another experience where her mother shows up in this video game as the perfect character, actress, invalidating who she genuinely is on this planet. And immediately I'm going to be like, I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be upset. My human is going to freak the fuck out. And then I'm going to be like, wait a minute. I did this one time before. Where have I given my power away? What's the story I'm telling myself? What have I made her beliefs mean about me? And what do I get to choose instead? And this is the work. The way that I relate to the work, this is it. This is all you have to do over and over and over and over until one day your mother shoots you something. An earth stacker's like, oh, it's been a while. Let me just like make sure. Let me send her a stacker. And you get an email that's really nasty and you read it and you just say like, man, she must be really scared right now. Wow, she's like really feeling helpless in her life. I have so much compassion for that. And maybe I'll just like send her a card. Maybe I'll just like give her a call. And then I'm going to go back to my work because I got work to do. I'm leaving a legacy. I am like eyes on my own paper. I know what my soul's here to do. And I've learned that lesson and feels amazing, right? However, I had to go through a lot of earth stackers to get there. I had to be willing to receive the assignment. And so often what happens is they teach in this book, this attitude, the thing that your ego says is, I am upset because my mom wrote me this letter. I am upset because, and then the ego seeks to justify why that's not fair and the ego is right, why that's not right and or that's wrong and you're right? I am upset because. I am upset because is a complete and total victim position. And it's the perfect solution by which the ego can engage in negative behavior and still be right. Versus, it's all me, personal responsibility, the foundational key that opens the door to freedom. It's up to me, it's all me, it's within me, it's about me and my perspective. That is the curriculum my soul came here to learn. So whether or not it's fair that my mom sent me a nasty email and whether or not it was kind or what, it doesn't matter, because she is in her own video game right now. And I honestly have one assignment, which is to learn the thing and be the full expression of the thing my soul came here to learn, which I know because I keep getting the lessons, right? I keep seeing how I've given my power away to the story that I disappoint others. So, okay, come back to me. Okay, what do I know is true? So doing the work on the stories and the thoughts that you tell yourself so that you can come back into self-responsibility. Why? Not because you're a good person, not because I'm better than my mother in this situation, just because I have work to do. Like it's just not helpful. And for me, I've always just been about, is this productive? You know, we're so concerned with productivity, but when we talk about like doing the work internally, so often we get so caught up in triggers and so caught up in old patterns and beliefs and conditioning and spirals that we don't stop to ask ourselves like, yeah, we may be justified. Yeah, I'm upset because, and I have a good reason, but like, is this productive? How is this moving me forward? How is this moving the needle forward on the legacy I'm here to leave, who I desire to be in my life, and my highest consciousness? Like, it's just not. It's not. It stalls you.
So then when you get that email, then I know you said that it doesn't matter, like that even doesn't matter, but then do you set a boundary of like, hey, like you said, don't say it makes me upset when, like, how do you set a boundary for that then? Like, or are you just like, oh, now that I've had this earth stacker and I've learned what I need to learn, like, it doesn't matter if you send me these emails, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, such good questions today, Christina. Okay, so obviously this process is not always going to be like A plus B equals C. Like I told you, there's like a million possibilities. And so I think the first thing to notice is like, there are literally a million possibilities for how I could respond to this email. And when I've got a client on the phone, the first thing that I would ask them is, what's your intention and desire with your mother? I've had clients that are like, I literally, truly, I know this sounds bad, but like, I don't need her. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't want her in my life. I don't want a relationship. Okay, so we're going to proceed a little bit differently. Versus for me, always intuitively, it was like, no, I choose this relationship. I choose to have this woman in my life. And not because I'm trying to be like better than the woman who does. And I just know that's the path for me.
That's the legacy you want to leave is
right.
Like having a relationship with your mother.
Exactly. And there's like something here for me too. Like usually if there's something that we're choosing, there's a payoff. And I get the rewards of that. It's not all bad. As long as I'm choosing the higher perspective, the higher vantage point, I'm also benefiting from this way of relating to her email. So when you get a nasty email, the first thing you have to be really clear on is like, what's my intention with this person? What do I desire? Like what's in alignment for me with this person? And then you react. So for me, because I want a relationship with my mother and I know, and I totally see how it plays out now, I say, oh, she is triggered right now. She is acting out. She is like an inflame, like when a gut's inflamed. Like I just think of her as like this little, she's spiraling, she's freaking out, and she does not have the tools or the awareness or the self-understanding to handle this herself. And I'm not responsible for catching it. I used to say it's like my mom would like throw a hot potato and I used to just like catch it. And then it'd be like scalding my hands. And I'd be like, but look, I'm such a good daughter. And then like my hands are basically, you know, burnt.
Charred. Yeah.
Right. And so now it's more of like, she throws the hot potato and I just kind of like step aside and just hurls over my shoulder. And I just kind of wait. I'm here when you're done. Okay. It's kind of like dealing with like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old.
That's what I thought of immediately. I was like, the roles are reversed.
Yeah.
My mom's your daughter now.
Because again, with kids, the intention we all have is to like have really beautiful, nurturing, sustaining, loving relationships with our children. Does that mean we let them treat us like shit? Depend. Like kids are crazy, right? But it's like setting loving boundaries. You set loving boundaries. And then you have like, you know, an inappropriate person in your life who your intention is to have no relationship with that person. And then when they reach out, you're like, hey, this door is not even, you don't even see this door. This is, and then you set like a hard, firm boundary. So it looks different. But again, if you're trying to set a loving boundary, that's basically what we do as mothers all day long. Yes, I know you want candy for breakfast. How about a muffin? It's like, you know, it's not a total like, fuck you don't get to ask me for that ever again. It's just understanding that of course they're going to ask for that because they're, you know, like crazy little humans, and we have the intention for who we want to be and we show up that way. So
okay, cool, that makes sense. And then also when you set that boundary, if the person's not used to it, it's almost like a test. Like they're like, oh sure, you want to set this boundary? Like, yeah, I'll show you, you know. So then it's like staying true to what we ultimately want and like coming full circle.
Exactly. Which again, circles back to what we we're saying at the beginning, where it's like, it really doesn't matter how that person reacts to me setting a boundary. Like they're definitely going to have an opinion about it. They're going to have a reaction. All that really matters, if I'm playing a video game and my soul is here for an experience, this is like my earth school, then it just matters what move do I make next. I don't need to worry about what this person is doing when I set the boundary. All I need to worry is like, am I clear on my intention? Am I clear on what I will and will not receive? And then what move do I need to make? And so again, it's so simple. It simplifies so much where we get distracted by other people's ideas or judgments or opinions or reactions when we can't control them anyway. So it's like come back to your center, come back to your intention, come back to what's the legacy I'm here to leave? Okay, then what do I need to do right now? What's the choice I need to make today to be in alignment with my legacy? Because I don't know what she's doing. It doesn't really matter what she's doing over there. The other thing that's really interesting about this, especially with the current global crisis, it's, you know, there are people that are going to be called upon to serve this crisis. There are people whose mission on earth is to make the world a better place in this specific way. And sometimes if all of us are focused over here on the crisis, we're going to miss the person over here who has something really profound and progressive to say about what's happening, right? Or if a person who is supposed to be a guide, a leader, a truth teller, just share a different experience is over here overindulging in the shadow side, they won't be there for their soul's work. They won't show up for what God needs them for, right? And so, I mean, I think about this often, you know, take the global crisis, and I like this challenge because I'm not comparing myself to Ukraine or Russia, but let's like make it micro for a second, right? Before I could really feel confident as a coach, I had so many stories about, okay, well, because of my depression, who am I to do this thing? What if I'm not good enough, right? And so I was over here, like really indulging in my fears, my shadow, my human was just like freaking out all of the time. And what was happening is women were coming into my field and out who could benefit from my work in the world. But I was too blind over here in my stories of self-doubt and self-criticism and self-judgment to be able to help them. And so now what happens is when I have these moments, of course, this is like a very professional example, but when I have a moment of crippling overwhelm or something, I just focus on service. I'm like, there's women coming to a call today that I get to be in connection with, and we get to shift the paradigm together. That is way more important than me wallowing over here today, right? And so on a mic, it's like on the macro level, I think sometimes it can feel so like it doesn't make a difference. But the truth is, like, every human making the micro shifts, every person moving from victimhood to ownership is what does move the collective in this direction, is what does allow all of the, you know, progressive or healing voices to come out through the crisis. And then suddenly there's solutions to global crises, and there's speakers, and there's whatever, you know, they're there. Suddenly we can see them, we can hear them. They're using their light and their voice because they're not worrying about, well, shouldn't I be over here grieving? And that fine line of like, and yes, everybody gets to be like, what in the actual fuck is happening in the Ukraine right now? Like, that gets to be a natural, normal human response. But then spending the next year dimming your light because you feel like, who am I to? That's what we're talking about. That's like the slippery slope, you see? So that's, I mean, I think the last thing I'll say, just a reminder about the earth stackers and the hard stuff and the dark stuff, is that all of that, the idea through spiritual psychology, is that all of those challenges in your life are showing you internal unresolved issues that are inviting completion. So going back to my mother, it's like, oh, I feel super triggered by my mother's email. That's okay. You get to feel triggered. And now bring this miraculous mindset shift, bring this perspective, bring the spiritual psychology ideology into your process of working through it. And step one is like feeling it. Step two is, okay, I now know, I trust, I understand. This is showing me that there's unresolved internal something here. There's something here for me to take my power back from, a belief, a wounding, an idea. And so now I get to complete the next level of this Nintendo game. I get to do the work on this belief. And so the stackers know that what you do, how you react in a challenging situation, is totally determined by what you believe. So what you believe is essential to the quality of your everyday life's experiences. This is why doing the belief work, this is why understanding that it all comes back to, like, the choices you make will be based on your beliefs. And then I wanted to just end with this quote from Emerson: "To different minds, the same world is a hell and a heaven." To different minds, the same world is a hell and a heaven. I love this. It always reminds me to live in the gray, to get out of duality thinking of polarities of right and wrong and good and bad, because 3 kids could be like the most abundant blessing, or like you could cry for a year when you find out you're pregnant with a 3rd kid. One silly example, right? To just remember that's your proof that there's no such thing as right or wrong, good or bad. It's all soul school, okay? Again, this perspective has truly become the framework of the way that I live my life. The beliefs come into it, the ownership, the self-responsibility, the awareness and curious perspective that the earth stackers send me lessons and triggers, and that's okay. I get to like be a human and choose, stay in my own lane. What's my intention? Move through it, get to the next Nintendo level. All that means is I have more joy, more peace, more abundance in my life. And that's what we're all here for.
Okay, so all of that leads to us doing the work. And then the work is like the journaling, the hypnotherapy, like the sitting with it. We're getting there, right? Like the how we do the work. So like, I know I need to do all this work.
So I would be doing you a total disservice if I told you like, yeah, you're gonna do 8 weeks and then your work is gonna be done. And then you're gonna feel like blissed out and abundant forever.
Yeah, no, I know it's not gonna be like that.
Right? So there's no rushing the work. It's just trusting that like it finds you when you're ready for it. The earth stackers send it when it's ready to be healed. When you're like at a place in your consciousness to work through it. How you do the work is sometimes it's journaling, sometimes it's coaching conversations, sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's just hard conversations with your partner, right? Sometimes it's listening to hypnosis tracks, sometimes it's walks in nature. It depends. It depends where you are and what you need. But I think first, before you can really bring your highest self to the how, you need to have the foundational how, right? So to me, this is like the foundational how. And there's been so many times in my life where I walk myself through this, right? But like, it didn't come up when I was in a coaching course, because first my mind was just like exploding from just total, I was like putting on different glasses, right? And then you walk through the world and you see different glasses and everything is different. The work that you would have done 5 weeks ago on something, you're going to look at it totally differently 5 weeks from now, because you've changed your perspective. You've literally put on different glasses. And so part of me wants to say, trust that like it will find you, and you will be guided to the right thing at exactly the right time. And the second part wants me to tell you that like, you're doing the work by being here. Like it's already happening. And the lessons are going to show up for you in accordance to your soul's curriculum right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that happened with me when we were deciding whether we wanted to move. It all kind of came very quickly. And honestly, Gervase, like your unwavering trust hypno track, like I seriously like can attest to how much that worked, because I was like, what the heck else was it? You know, like it came so clear to me like over time that this is where we need to move and this is why. And it just like I was praying too and all that, but I was like, what, I wasn't doing anything else,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, we think it's a lot of doing, and that's the thing.
Right.
That's like, I mean, that's amazing that that's where you're at already, because I think the huge mindset shift that needs to happen for a lot of this is for you to understand that like the doing, the external doing isn't actually as productive as like the internal doing. Right. And so, yeah, like listening to a hypnosis track every day, it gets to be that easy. And like, also
mind blowing,
that just came to you in your life when you were ready for it for free. Like, I think so often we get caught up in like the how, like, who am I going to hire? How much is it going to be? Versus trusting that like the right thing will come our way in the way that we're ready to receive it at the right time. And so it's like this lean back approach of trusting your spiritual guides, trusting the earth stackers, trusting the universe, because your other option is pretty futile. It's like kind of just spinning your wheels to do where there's not a problem. It's like creating problems where problems don't exist. All right. Well, that's it for spiritual psychology. That's a wrap. Thank you for like letting me bring you into my world of spirituality. I just hope it serves you as much as it has served me, and like, let it ruminate, like give it a minute, maybe listen to this again, and know what's meant for you will not pass you by. So what you need to learn from here and moving forward, like it will circle around and it will find you. If you are a modern mother looking for an empowering reframe in your relationship to your role, job, title, identity as a mother, run, don't walk, to get the Reclaim Your Mother Story free masterclass. This is a 2-day masterclass that I recorded a couple years ago, and I literally rewatched it recently, and it is the most fire masterclass I have possibly ever recorded. And I'm giving it away for free because summer is crazy for mothers. So if you are a mom, or you have a mom, or you love a mom, go to gervasekolmos.com/free-masterclass-4-moms and sign up. This masterclass is going to teach you how to be more you while raising them, which is kind of a refreshing take in a culture that seems really intent on polarizing mothers, watering us down, making us too much or not enough, having us fit ourselves into these tiny boxes that do not fit the multi-dimensional, multi-passionate, modern, amazing human that you are. So in this masterclass, I'm going to return you to your power, to your joy, to your wholeness. And it's totally free. When you watch these 2 videos, you will discover how to uncover the hidden stories shaping your motherhood experience and how to rewrite them for more joy, freedom, and fulfillment. You're also going to reconnect with the woman inside the mother, so that you can hold your dreams, your needs, and your children without losing yourself in the process. You're going to break free from the cultural myth that says you have to choose between your own aliveness and being a good mom. You're going to shift from self-sacrifice to self-honoring, and you're going to do it without guilt. You're going to find your power within, not in parenting hacks, not in external approval or checking one more thing off the list. And lastly, but certainly not least, you're going to rewrite generational patterns and redefine what motherhood can look and feel like for you and your kids. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to gervasekolmos.com/free-masterclass-4-moms. Ask me how many takes we had to do for me to get that URL right. I hope to see you inside. I want to hear how it goes for you. I hope you watch this, learn something, reclaim little parts of you that you have accidentally lost to dominant culture and mother culture. And I would love to hear how it goes. Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful that you spend your valuable time with me. I hope that you love these deep talks about life and the meaning of it all and how to tap into our soul and body wisdom as much as I do. I really appreciate you being here. Maybe I'll see you inside Whole Mother Rising. Maybe I'll see you on the gram. Make sure you find me at Gervase Kolmos. Any questions ever, or if you want to take this work deeper with the Soul Shift Intensive, just head to gervasekolmos.com. The links are in the show notes. And I'll see you back here in 2 weeks.